Now, I'm really interested in this process. For me, it's the process in a similar form I stumbled upon when I was 16 years old and really started to interrogate, really engaged with. And I spent years and years trying to move from just yes and no to some really complex answers to complex questions. Why is this reality we're engaged in the way it is? Who am I? Why am I here? What does this mean? If there is an infinite creator that loves us, why is there evil in the world? Um, what does this all mean? And really, that was the process that I engaged in that allowed me to write my book, The Ascension Papers, and it's a process I continue to engage in. And as I interrogated that voice and got some really complex answers, I started saying, but who are you that knows the answers to these questions? Because here I am, I think I don't know. And there's, inside my heart, there is a someone that really does know. Needless to say, I got some very interesting responses, and well, that's my book. If I can condense the truths I obtained in my book, The Ascension Papers, into just two truths, they are: number one, all is one. I've kicked and fought for quite a while. How can all be one? What does that mean? It's one of these very spiritual sounding things, all is one. But it's apparently not one. Here I am, I'm separate. So I really worked with it. I asked the question from every possible angle that I could, and it eventually came true for me that indeed, all is one. The eternal, infinite creator of everything, the being that we often call God, is one with its creation. It's experiencing itself through you as you. You are an indivisible, inseparable part of this creator. You are the creator. You are one with all other parts of the creator. The marvel, the mystery, the most amazing thing about this reality we're currently inhabiting is in fact that it allows us to experience all these as parts of the one. It allows us to experience ourselves as separate. There is a wonderful, incredibly powerful illusion that we are separate, that we're not one. And how does this feel? To be not one, to be separate, to be alone, to be apart. It's agony. It's incredibly, incredibly painful. And how do we respond to this agony? Well, in some very interesting ways. Some of us go about hurting, abusing, destroying, damaging others, ourselves, our planet. We go about doing some really horrendous things to that which is around us, even to ourselves, to our own bodies. Some of us go about trying to anesthetize the pain in any way that we can. We use all kinds of interesting things: food, drugs, sex, money, ego gratification, bigger houses, better cars, whatever it is, to just for a moment deaden the pain. And that really explains our reality. We're either hurting ourselves or anesthetizing the pain. That's what we're doing, and that's why the world is the way it is. But does it work? It never does. We never manage to not feel the pain or to do something that makes the pain just go away. We think we're going to. I'm just about to buy that beautiful new car. I think I'm going to feel okay driving in my new convertible. But when I'm driving in the new convertible, it's just still the same me. Still alone, still lost, still separate. So it doesn't work. Duality is separation. We're in a duality reality. That's what it is. But we can't complain about it. Complaining about feeling separation here is like jumping into a swimming pool and complaining about being wet. That's what this reality is about. And we chose to be here. Of course, we often aren't aware of that. We think we didn't choose to be here. When we're kids, our mother shouts at us and says, "Clean your room, you naughty child, and we go, I didn't choose to be born, or something like that. And I didn't want to be here. But of course we did. So that's the first truth, that all is really one, but we're experiencing ourselves as separate. But still, that's an illusion. The second truth is that you are right now busy creating your reality. Right now, you are creating it. It's not happening to you. You are creating it. Most of us here on planet Earth are very hard at work choosing to create the illusion that we are not creating our reality. We are choosing to create that we are victims, and marvel upon marvel. As we choose to create it, so it is. We experience ourselves as victims. We are also choosing to create that we are not one, and so that is what we experience. Isn't that amazing? How powerful we are. That we can choose to create that we are not creators, that we can choose to imagine that we are not one. But creator, as you create it, so it is. And these are the two things, as far as I'm concerned, that these are the two essential truths. All is one, and you are the creator of your reality. The rest is all just details. The rest is all transitory. It's all story. It's all fluff. But we like our story. We love our stories. We love our fluff. We love what we're doing. Because if we did not, we could simply let it go. We could simply cease. Cease all creation. Cease all doing. And you would simply return to the oneness. But that's not viable. Because we love this. We love doing this. We love our stories. So I'm going to get into a little bit of detail and talk about why this reality is the way it is. The story starts with the oneness. All stories start with the oneness. In the beginning was the oneness, and the oneness said, here I am. What am I? And then it began answering that question. But because the oneness is infinite, so its questions are pretty infinite in scope, and its answers are pretty infinite in scope. So some of the answers sparked more questions, and some of those questions became incredibly complex. And one of the more fascinating questions went, how would it be if I were not one? What if the oneness was not one? And from that question came this whole reality that we're experiencing. This is the reality which is all about duality. It's about not oneness. And you and I are the answer bearers. We are that which answers the question, what if I am not one? Because we know. Each of us has a slightly different perspective on what that is. We each have a different piece of the puzzle, a different part of the answer, but we are all together. Everyone on this planet, and I suppose everyone on other planets elsewhere that are also playing the not oneness game, we all know what it is to be not one. And what is it like to be not one? It's pretty crazy stuff. The stuff we do to each other, the stuff we do to Mother Earth, the stuff we do to our own bodies, the stuff we do to ourselves. Not one is some pretty crazy drugs, isn't it? But when this experiment was created, it was also created that it should have a logical conclusion. All experiments run for a duration, and then when you've got what you want out of the experiment comes to a close. And this one is no different. The experiment of duality, of not one, is busy coming to a close. But the problem is that the nature of this experiment is such that in order to be inside the experiment, in order to be playing this game, you have to get lost in it. You have to forget who you really are. You have to forget that you are one. You have to forget that you are the creator of your reality, or you can't really play in this experiment. So that's the difficulty. The players have forgotten that they are playing, and they started to take the whole game terribly seriously. And now it's very hard for them to simply stop playing, for them to simply go, oh, well, that was great. Let's go do something else. So when you look at your friends and neighbors around you and they are terribly embroiled in the illusion, and you feel like maybe you're starting to wake up and starting to smell the roses, see the reality, and you get frustrated that nobody around you is. Be a little patient with them. This is a very, very compelling illusion, and it's very often preferable to choose to keep believing in the illusion than to engage with the waking up process. But waking up is really what has to happen. So what's going to happen now, what's busy happening, is that the things of duality and separation, the things that keep us apart and teach us that we are not one, are starting to fall apart. They're starting to break. You will notice, if you're observant, that things like the things of money is a great tool of separation. The things of money are starting to become a little wobbly. We're still in a money reality. We still need money to buy things. But you will notice that financial systems are really starting to wobble. It's like a machine that's running too hot, too fast with no oil. The bits are starting to fall off. My suggestion with this one is, as long as you need money, engage with money, but be prepared for a reality that doesn't function on money, but that rather functions on connection, on belonging, on trust, on engagement, on everybody giving their greatest gift. Money is busy dying. And if money is busy dying, well, there are a tremendous amount of systems that are so intertwined with money that as money dies, so those systems will die too. We're talking large multinational corporations that run things. We're talking systems of pollution. And this idea that we need to abuse our planet and do damage to our planet in order to obtain energy, well, that's beginning to show itself for what it is. The Gulf of Mexico disaster is still quite fresh in our memories, and at the same time, look at what has happened with the nuclear disasters in Japan, at Fukushima. So all of these things are really wobbling and starting to fall apart. And what we really need to do is be willing to change, each of us individually. Be willing to live the change that we desire. Be willing to live in a more harmonious, sustainable way. So that's what's going on in our world right now. As the things of duality and separation are being dismantled, so we're going cold turkey on these crazy drugs. Drugs that keep us in victim, drugs that cause us to hate each other, abuse each other, do damage, despoil, using technologies that do harm. All of these things we're having to go cold turkey on. I understand from people who have really struggled with drugs, real narcotics, that you need to hit what they call rock bottom before you are willing to let go of your drugs. You need to hit a point of no return where you say, this is too terrible and I can't go on. And then you go clean. And apparently this is what needs to happen to us. We need to hit rock bottom. We haven't hit it yet, but we're going to. And then we're going to go clean.